fourth final deciding run of the BMW IBSF two-man bobsleigh World Championships at a wet, rainy and miserable Altenberg in Germany. The weather might be grim, but history could well be made today after 60 seasons when a record set by the great Eugenio Monti seemed unbreakable. Today it might topple. Hello everybody, welcome back for our coverage of the final run. Martin Haven and John Morgan. And John, although we've got an all-German top three, things are not quite as they seem.
Well, Lochner and Weber here, one of the favorites in the competition. They battled themselves into a medal position, but there's, they're not happy with that run. And, he's in a spot, well, he's chasing down Team Walter here, who's got about a 1600s lead, and he doesn't have as good a start time as Lochner. In fact, Walter's done more with, the first three heats than Lochner has. And on top of the leaderboard, that they're all, but this other guy's just in another planet. He's on the verge of breaking Eugenio Monti's record of 6 consecutive World Championship wins. And it's Margus on the brakes. He's got 4 of those victories. And these guys are, doing something that I saw Monti do 50 years ago. As a young kid in Lake Placid when he got his 5th World Championship title in 1961, and to see here, that's 59 years ago, and we can see history made here today.
60th season that record has stood, and Francesco Friedrich is an hour away potentially from breaking it. His worry is not what's behind, but what's in front of him. Greatness. Nico Walter and his teammate in second and third place, but Johannes Lochner and perhaps Walter may be under threat from the fast-moving Oskars Kibermanis of Latvia. Moved up from 5th to 4th overnight, from 5th overnight to 4th in the first heat, and he could well end up among the medals, maybe even as high as silver. Well, this Altenberg track is tough in any conditions, fair or foul, snow, rain, or deep temperatures. It is very fast and very tricky.
Well, it was built in the early 80s as an East German sport training center, a secret sport training center. They wanted to make one of the toughest tracks in the world, and they did. Curve 1's named after the guy who was the track manager, Benish, and he tipped over at Curve 1. And now these straightaways, you got to be perfect up here. Exit from 3 to 4. The first couple of heats, it was dangerous. You hit the wall there on the right, but everybody seems to be missing it. Now to 6, 7, and 8, Labyrinth, 3/4 combination speeds. You're still accelerating here to a pretty good clip near 70 miles an hour. Exit of curve 9, long straightaway, 270-degree whip around. All sorts of action here in the women's and the men's first day event, but today the track's pretty tame. 11, 12, the snake combination. 13, you could still have problems here. Exit of 14, this straightaway. This is probably going to win and lose medals in that straightaway. Still accelerating, still getting up to 75 miles an hour. What Darlington is to NASCAR, this track is to bobsledding, but not today. The track is 2 seconds slower than we saw yesterday when they broke the track record by a ½ second. Today it's pretty tame, but we're watching this guy make history.
Yeah, Francesco Friedrich on the brink. Johannes Lochner in 3rd place under fire. Look at the temperatures though. Air temperature nearly 8 degrees, ice temperature 0. That's the guy. Positive, I think, but there's the man, Oskars Kibermanis, who might move up into the medals. Hunter Church moved up from 20th to 19th over the course of Heat 3, and we'll try and move up again as we go from 20 down to 1. Our fast final sleds in the last heat here, and the crowd will be jubilant if Friedrich can do this, and equally jubilant to go home as quickly as possible afterwards. They are soaked to the skin. A big crowd coming out here all week to watch the action in this first weekend of the World Championships, and that will continue next week. Patrick Baumgartner of Italy kicks off the 4th and final heat, and Francesco Friedrich will go last in just under an hour's time to try and make history. Final heat of the two-man bobsleigh World Championships 2020 here in Altenberg in Germany. Patrick Baumgartner and Costantino Ughi from Italy get things underway under the watchful eye of coach Manny Mahata. Martin Haven, John Morgan trackside watching the action as the final 20 sleds take on this soaking wet Altenberg track.
Yeah, Baumgartner came from alpine skiing. His brakeman Ughi he was a judo. I think he's the only guy in the field that lists judo as his former sport. but he just doesn't get the starts. He's been around now, Martin, since he won his 2012 Junior Olympic Championship in Innsbruck, but really hasn't come to the top because he just doesn't get a good start.
See the water running down the track. It's been raining hard all night and all day. Where it's not streaming rain, it is frosted now. So this track is a double treacherous track.
Well, it's treacherous, but the athletes can really put the sled anywhere they want it to because the track's soft. And, you know, again, they're going 2 seconds slower than they were yesterday, Martin.
Yep.
In this sport, 2 seconds of time is, wow, a lot.
Well, in any sport, 2 seconds. Think about being 2 seconds behind Usain Bolt. You wouldn't be in the same field. 56.7, that's nearly a second quicker than his first trip down. And he was in 19th off in the field.
He's a full second. Well, he went late. He went 20th in the first heat. Here he goes first. The ice is there. You're going to start seeing this section of the track up top. Going to get real frosty by the top 5 guys that come down.
Roman Heinrich of France said a 56.7. That was the 8th fastest run in Heat 3.
Yeah,
so either the track is been nicely prepared between the runs and he's got the best ice, or he's just driven really much better.
I think the former there.
Yeah, could be.
He's got a real opportunity here. And hey, yesterday they were bouncing off the walls, ping pong. I mean,
off the ceiling,
and
off the scenery.
It's
absolutely
the track too tough to tame. The weather has tamed it.
There's Patrick Baumgartner, your race leader with 19 sleds to go. Next up is Hunter Church, who was in 20th place overnight, the US driver, with Josh Williamson behind him. And again, want to say a shout out. I'm sure she won't see it for days, but congratulations to Nick Taylor and wife Alana Myers-Taylor on the birth of baby Nico during yesterday's Women's World Championship, won by the USA's Kaylee Humphries.
Alana told me in December she's going to be back on the ice in a month after her baby. Alana, good luck to you. Nick, good luck to you. Hunter, one more heat in your 2-man season. You've had a fantastic year. Your start times.
Well, that equals their fastest start to the competition. So a little less frosty at the top again. That's probably had a bit of a frosty spritz polish.
Yeah, we'll start seeing some marks up there. He's got a huge lead.
Yeah.
Hunter crashed in training in the Thursday first heat of training, and he was fine, but I'm sure that took a little edge off things. But this is his style track. Because one thing everybody's agreed to, Hunter Church has got some great eyes, great hands.
7,800's up, so just losing a tiny bit of speed to the Italian sled. He's not going to drop behind them. Question is, can he move up at all?
His brakeman, Josh Williamson, he's a lacrosse player. I'll guarantee he's the only lacrosse player in the field.
Okay, so your leaders leave the leaders box 56.57, and again, that is half a second quicker than they came down in the first heat. In fact, 6/10 quicker, isn't it?
6/10.
My subtraction was never great.
It's okay.
So good job by Hunter Church. First time ever racing in Altenberg.
Great season, dude.
Yeah, absolutely right.
More so in the 4-man than the 2, because he gets the starts in the 4-man, but he's showing everybody coming over here brand new to all of these tracks, and he's got great eyes and hands.
And apart from St. Moritz, every race he's gone into, he's had 6 training trips in 2-man and 4-man to learn a brand new track.
Yeah.
And again,
great
job.
Pretty good student of the game, pays attention to the equipment he did. You know, and it's look around that point in the BMW sled.
Guys, love y'all.
Listen, you finished 10th in the overall World Cup rankings in 2-man with 4 different German drivers in the season. You're having a great year. Next up, Markus Treichel of Austria, 18th place after our first 3 heats with Christian Huber, his brakeman. Treichel struggling towards the end of this season with a broken foot. It is getting better, but it is not good yet.
Saw his father last night at the reception.
He's struggling for pace at the start. Their best start, a 5:35, the 19th fastest in a field of 27.
Yeah, in the field of 27, this is another athlete who came from luge. There's probably about 7-8 athletes that spent their first part of their career in luge.
Well, that's when you start. When you're young, you can slide luge in Eagles, where he's from, Innsbruck in Austria, from the age of about 3 or 4.
They got a little passion for luge in that Eagles track. His brakeman's a decathlete. And Doesn't matter how good a brakeman is with that broken foot that Marcus has had all season. In Innsbruck on his home track, he was sitting in the sled.
Yeah, he was. Oh, now listen, the gap's come down from 2500s to 1600s. Hunter Church might be looking hopeful. Hunter is standing in the leader's box with a Max Hooven trophy beside him.
This could be out a little bit more. 20, yeah. He had that good speed on the exit of Kreisel, and that could allow him to pull away to 2500s or so. 27.
So 56.59.
Marcus Treacle's down, and hey, he went down almost a full second, Martin. 8200's better. So we have a faster track here in the second run.
Well, his third one wasn't great, was it? So Hunter Church and Josh Williamson leave the leader's box. Glad to get out of the rain, I imagine. Marcus Treacle and Brakeman Christian
Huber. If you give them
the
choice, they'd stay right in the rain.
Well, yeah, I mean, you'd stay there in the rain if you could move up a dozen spots, but as soon as you're done, you're done. Let's go and find a coat.
Again, guys running with a broken foot most of the year. Good height, get down, sit down and get settled. And does this push bar hit? No. And here's the comparison. Hunter Church, the front sled, lines. It's almost like bump drafting. You get so close. And you could see he had better speed coming out of the Kreisel. He caught Hunter in there.
So Marcus Treacle leads with Christian Huber, his brakeman. 3 down, 17 to go in this wet final heat here in Altenberg. Next up, 17th after the first 3 heats, Ralf Berchins and David Springs of Latvia. Berchins now at the end of his second year as a top-tier bobsleigh driver. He had a couple of years beforehand, and he too, like Marcus Treacle, our current leader, comes from the sport of luge.
Yeah, his brakeman, I just talked about a judo guy. His brakeman's a karate guy.
Yeah.
Berkins is the tallest driver in the field. He's about 6'5". He's like you.
Well, they started 5:20, 5:21 yesterday. A really slow 5:30 start in the third heat. They're back down to 5:20s with a 5:23 getaway.
10/100ths mishap. He had the 19th best time of the run.
And that's just not quite getting the hit together, the timing exactly right. And, it does happen.
Last year he was in the World Championships. He finished 21st in Whistler, so he's going to better that.
Yep, no worse than 17th at the moment. And he is not far behind Great Britain's Brad Hall, so he could pick up a spot with another good run here.
Yeah.
15th, 16th, and 19th. He's gradually been getting slower over the 3 runs. Let's see.
This is a better run than he had in the previous run.
Well, that is almost a whole second faster, so that gives him a good opportunity to move up.
9100's better. This wasn't as good a run as his last run was so bad.
Yeah, this is where he should have been, perhaps.
Watch the crowd. They cheer everybody. I mean, it's like going to the Montreal Forum and watching hockey. That is a very educated sliding sports crowd right there. They know they're sliding sports.
Well, again, Ralph's shaking his head there as he gets out a little gingerly out of the sled. I wonder if he's 100%.
Well, that 10/100's difference from one start to the other. Something's up there. But yesterday we saw people on 2 runners and over and here sideways totally half the field. Today with the 2 seconds slower, the ice is soft, the runners have more grip.
And that's the key, isn't it? You've got more control. It's like having the right tyres on for the weather rather than the wrong tyres on for the weather.
The first 2 days we were teased here, Martin. We're on the edge of our seats. Here it's a little different ball game.
There are a few frazzled coaches and drivers. Brad Hall and Greg Cackett for Great Britain. 16th place after 3 of our 4 heats. Brad Hall coming off the end of a good season in the 2-man, ended up in 8th place in the overall season's rankings, a career high of a silver medal in Innsbruck in Austria.
I talked about 7 or 8 of the drivers came from luge. There's 7, 8 of the drivers that are former decathletes. This guy, Brad Hall, one of them is Brakeman's a 100-meter sprinter, but he's not 100%. He's at the end of the season, and he's got a groin problem.
He had an injured back from Innsbruck on, and that has caused him problems in the sacrum, and now with that groin strain as well. So that was their slowest of 4 starts. He's 1800s behind Ralf Berchins. He's going to need the big speed that he can find in this sled at the bottom of the track.
Going to need it. He's going to drop at least 1 spot. He won his first medal ever earlier this year, right?
Second fastest, yeah, that was in Innsbruck in Austria.
So he's had a great season, good breakout.
Fastest speed of all, gaps down to a 10th.
Could still find it if he's perfect.
Where the sled flies.
He's got it now.
Here we go. He's going to hang on, is he, to a top 16 finish?
He drove himself into this position, that's for sure.
Yes, he did. 56.54 slides. 400s quicker than Ralph Berchin's. That's just enough to keep his nose in front by a tenth.
Didn't look good for a while. Of course, he was 1200s behind at the start.
Yeah.
That's why those red numbers were into effect until he had that good drive out of Kreisel. Slingshot yourself out of there, and good bottom part of the track. He turned 1800 deficit into a 1000 lead.
They're going to need every minute of recuperation
watch
time
that.
before
You see,
the full
he
man.
hit there. Most everybody else is not hitting there. Yesterday, everybody hit there, but Friedrich. Then down here, I mean, this is mellow compared to yesterday.
Yeah. There's quite a number of these sleds, and Brad might be that. Whatever runners they had yesterday, they're still using today because those are their runners. Lots of teams have a selection, not all of them though. Brad Hall leads from Ralph Berchin's and Marcus Treichel, 5 down, 15 to go. 15 final sleds in the BMW IBSF Two-Man Bobsleigh World Championships 2020, and this is the 2015-16 career high World Cup champion Yoon Jung-won of Korea. Well, he was the best two-man driver over the entire season 4 seasons ago, and now he is in 15th place in the World Championships.
And he's got the youngest athlete in the field, 18 years old. Watch the way he gets in the sled, the brakeman. Doesn't have a lot of experience. That was a great low.
Yep.
His coaches must have talked to him because he didn't do that in the third heat.
No, he slipped
had
in the third heat.
Yeah, left, right arm. But hey, he learns quick.
Absolutely.
And you know, when Won won that World Cup title, he had a top 3 start. Now he's back with the 13th best start.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you want to come into the bobsled world, you got to have that start time to compete with the big boys.
It's like having a big engine in your race car. It all helps.
Yeah, but in the race car, they usually tell you how many horsepower you got. Bobsledding, they can tell you, be as fast as you want running.
Well, here they just tell you how much weight you got to carry.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
4500s up over Brad Hall. Second fastest speed, so he's not going to give this away. He's not going to drop behind.
He's accelerating away a little bit here at the bottom, but hey, he's a former World Cup winner. He won a silver medal in the 4-man at the Pyeongchang Olympics. Like I mentioned in previous heats, he speaks great English now. It's great to talk to him. He is definitely a leader of the Korean bobsled program. When he retires, I bet you he stays in coaching. He's a legend. First ever Asian to win an Olympic medal in the sport.
And that run was 0.7 of a second faster than his previous one this afternoon.
And he's a gentleman.
Yep. Well, having that home games medal tucked under his belt means that he's feeling little pain now, and that helps with
If we put
the
a split screen up here of the last heat to that heat, what an improvement on the entry through the sled.
I think his brakeman's spikes maybe slipped off the back of the sled as he was leaping in the last time. Yeah,
he might have got a little scolding up top from one of those foreign coaches that they
can't
employ.
have beaten him up more than he'd beat himself up. It's the World Championships, and everybody knows you've got to bring your A game. Yoon Jung-won is the leader. Beside him is the Max Huben Trophy that our winner will take. And there is his schoolboy brakeman. So at the top of the track is Dominik Dvorak of the Czech Republic with Jakub Nosek behind him. 16th and 8th fastest runs in day 1, 15th fastest in heat 3. Can he produce another top 10 run to try and move himself back up the 4 spots he dropped out of the top 10?
Yeah, he's one of the top starters. When you have a 6th, 7th start, you should be 5th, 6th at least. He's had 1 good run and 2 bad runs, and that little skid as they got into out of the grooves there, 26. They're third.
In the middle.
Yeah, it's not very good. Now look at the track. Just keep your eyes on the track. It's still got that shiny look. Pretty soon we're going to see a frosty look.
You can already see it in the covered areas where the rain's not falling. It's very matte.
Yeah, right here it's okay, but
you can tell where it's open because you get the rivers. So half of it, the runners are sticking more than they would normally. The other half, you're in standing water and it's dragging the sled back. So speeds are low, but the ability to control the sled is great.
He's losing time back here, only 1400s up. And he's had poor speed in all his runs, not a 6. This is going to be too close to call. 100th of a second.
In the leader's box, isn't he? Yoon Jung-won could move up another spot. Oh, he
tie.
finally, there we go.
We love ties. Put 4 guys in the box, have them all high-five each other.
You're a winner, and you're a winner.
And I didn't lose my placing, and maybe the 2 of us will beat the next guy.
Well, there you go.
You know, it's a great camaraderie. But
and actually, do you know what? There's only 600ths of a second ahead of Dvorak to the next guy.
Yeah,
so who knows? Hey, we could get a 3-way tie. There's wacky stuff happening this week.
I'd like to see him look at his new equipment because he's got low speeds, good start, good driver. He just has low speeds. Watch the sled come to the left a little bit. See, he's out of the drive lines now. He's going in the wrong direction. He might not have had a hold of those D-rings quick enough.
Look at the visor. You can just see the track ahead of you in the reflecting on the visor.
This is at a curve 9, which usually everybody comes out and hits the wall on the left. And because the track's so tame, you can probably put the sled any place you want.
So there is Dominik Dvorak, Jakub Nošek. They join Yun Jong-won and Che Byung-do in the leaders box. Next up, Oskars Melbardis of Latvia with Intars Dambis. Now, we talked about Che being the youngest brakeman at 18. Dambis is the oldest at 36. He started in the Latvian team when Che, his rival, was 1 year old. And talk about not having the consistency, Oskars Melbardis, his first season back in driving since the Pyeongchang Games. And he's needing to find that consistency again.
Yeah, when he dominated the tour where he had the best starts, he's 250 pounds, and his start times, he would win all those podiums with good starts.
Never won on this track. He's had a couple of medals, silver medals. Oskars Kiebermanis has had 3 bronze in the last 3 races here. His teammate, who comes up later, Melbardis. Well, his year was made last weekend in Sigulda when he was presented with his 4-man Olympic gold and a 2-man Olympic bronze from Sochi.
The upgrade.
Long time
First
waiting.
ever Latvian to win a gold medal
in any Olympic sport. Yeah, huge day for
7,000 people there. Wow.
In a country of under 2 million inhabitants, it was a big deal.
Close.
And Melbardis will have the lead at the line, so he pushes 4 out of the leaders box.
There's Sanders Prusis.
Sanders Prusis was very emotional last weekend.
Zitis, your people up there did a fantastic job.
Properly did.
Latvia was well presented last weekend.
Yep. The place was rocking. So Oskars Melbardis and Intars Dambis, they will be no worse than 13th.
Intars Dambis' first ever World Championships was in Calgary in 2005.
Yeah.
How about that? He's been around a long time. Still can run with the young ones.
Yeah.
You know, it's just Melbardis says, I'm just old and I don't have a start. I bet you next summer or next winter, he does have a start. And if that guy gets a start, he'll be right where he was, challenging for podiums.
He needs another Damen-Streiskens. Every great driver has had a great brakeman. You think of Andre Langer and Kevin Kuska, and you don't say Melbardis without saying Streiskens as well. So the man on the left there, Intars Dambis, has got big boots to fill. And there is Oskars Melbardis on the right, your race leader. Oh, is right. 12 to go. Alexei Stornev of Russia with the big Ilya Malik. But look at Malik's face. Look at the eyes. He's burning the sled.
Alex, he looks like a weightlifter. Looks like a linebacker. He's a basketball player. His #1 fan, and he's a fan of LeBron James.
Now look at the yo-yo runs that Melbardis had. 11th, 11th, and 11th for Stornev. He's 12th at the line after 3 heats.
8th best start, that's about right. But Stornev is a really good driver and finds speed on the bottom part of this track. He didn't compete last year. Of course, the year before, the Russians weren't at the Pyeongchang Games.
Yeah, didn't make the World Cup squad last year. They were trying out all sorts of new young guys. Stornev has made his place as the Russian #1. Best result this season, a 4th place finish in the 2-man.
5th best speed, he's 300s down. Needs to stop the bleeding and throw some magical lines here in the bottom, which the track will give you. 7th down, so I think he's stopped the bleeding, but this is where he's made his time up right here. 7 to 7, but that tap's gonna hurt him.
Away.
Yeah. So he's going to lose by a couple hundreds.
Anything that takes away your speed here is not good.
So Melbardis will take it. Probably.
No, Oskars, you've forgotten. When you're the leader, you stay in the leader's box. You don't leave.
56.87 to a 56.71.
When was the last time Oskars Melbardis was in a leader's box? Well, it was over 2 years ago. Alexei Stulnev drops to second. Nobody wants to lose a spot in the final run.
Both those guys are from Moscow. Their season in the two-man competition is over. Start time in the curve 9 here. I think he got a little high.
Yeah.
Let's see him come down. That's, look at, you could see that little in the apex there. You see that little skid and that little friction come up, and I think he had a problem there in curve 9 here. Exit of 14, he taps. Not every, and hardly anybody's hitting there, but Martin on this track that's 2 seconds slower, a tap like that's worth some time.
Yeah, steering late off 14 and off corner 9. So Oskars Malbardis and Intos Dambis remain in the leader's box. There you go. He's been shuffled back in by Hester, our floor manager.
There's the Max Hubin Trophy, named after the Belgian athlete who lost his life at the World Championships in Lake Placid in 1949. The trophy was presented by the citizens of Lake Placid.
Roman Heinrich next up on the fringes of the top 10 for France with brakeman Dorian Hauteville. Heinrich, a long-time brakeman for Loic Cosderg, started driving 4 seasons ago now, and really starting to find his feet in the last couple of years. 5:31 getaway, again like everybody else, finding the start track is not as quick.
Does that look like rain or a little
All rain, all rain and sleet. Outside of our window it looks fairly light, but there on that camera shot, picking up by the lights, you can see it's still raining hard.
We've been looking at the 1990 footage. The whole track at the top was wide open.
Yeah.
Boy, this race would be in jeopardy if it was like that now. It's got a roof on it all the way to curve 1.
Yeah. Starting to look like, a bit like the skeleton race in the Worlds in Lake Placid 2003, which was
2008.
2008, much more wild water rafting. Now, here was 2008.
Or, you're right, 2009.
Ah, no. Fifth fastest speed, Roman Heinrich still in the lead by 4:10 still, hanging in there.
His goal was top 8. He's not there yet.
No, long way from there.
Yeah, 34, you know, fastest, second fastest, 3,400s lead. Did pretty good. He was 2,600s fast, 2,700s faster. He's happy.
High-fiving on the way up into the finish area.
Yeah. Hey, remember, there was a lot of trepidation in this track yesterday, and today it's a different world. The athletes are a lot more relaxed.
Well, don't forget, these guys trained in Worcester last year, crashed heavily, broke the axle in the sled, didn't do a racing heat. So this is his first World Championships driving.
Yeah, and he's through and down with a top 10.
Yep. At a track that is just as tough. Today, possibly not, but in training and in yesterday's heats, it was absolutely as tough as anything there is on the planet.
Well, he needs one more person to pick off. Look at the line. Boy, that, if you talk about exact, that's as close to being exact as we've seen from that technology they've been showing us for 3 days. Great pictures there.
So Roman Heinrich, well, he'll be hoping for a top 10, but that requires some help from outside. Roman Heinrich leads from Oskars Malbardis and Alexei Stulnev. 10 sleds down, the final 10 to go in the two-man World Championships. Well, John, there has been a huge crowd here all week. In training, there are as many people as you would normally get in a regular World Cup crowd. And today and yesterday, they've all come in to see the local hero. Pirna is just about 20 kilometers away from Altenberg. That's where Francesco Friedrich comes from. He slides for the Bob Club in Oberberenberg, just a kilometer from the track, doesn't he? And you know, he is a huge hero, but listening to the interviews with the crowd, there are people here from Bavaria, there are people here from Berlin, there are people here from the Ruhr and the Saar Valley. There's a lot of bobsled fans locally, but people have traveled all the way across Europe and from the Czech Republic across the border, from all sorts of nations, to come and watch these World Championships.
Well, Martin, the 1990 World Championships, my memory tells me that there was 2 comebacks. Rudi Lochner, which is the uncle of Johannes Lochner, came from behind, beat Gustav Vader for the gold. The next week, Wolfgang Hoppe came from behind to beat Gustav Vader for the gold. 2001 event here. I can remember Marcel Rohner, one of the favorites in the competition, crashed in the first heat. It got a curve 11. That was shocking. There's a little story behind that crash, a little inner fighting amongst the teammates. But in 2008, the crashes and the competition for the 7-8 days leading up to the competition, and then the German dominance. They won all the gold medals except for Christian Bromley winning the skeleton gold. Otherwise, the Germans just dominated everything. And then from that point on, Altenberg has been a great host for these competitions. Today, it's easy. The athletes could be relaxed because they're not under so much stress from what the track presents to them.
Little less trepidatious today. I mean, you take your eye off it and it will bite you, but it is a different beast to the way it was yesterday. So the final 10 sleds are steading ready at the top to get underway. Final heat of the BMW IBSF two-man bobsleigh World Championships for 2020. Altenberg in Germany with Martin Haven and John Morgan watching. Seaman Friedli and Gregory Jones in the top 10 for Switzerland, the second of the Swiss sleds that are in the top 10.
Hey, he's a rookie at the World Championships, 8th in the first run, 17th in the second run, 6th in the third run. He's second year driving. He won a World Cup first ever medal last week in Sigolda on the second race. The first race, Martin, you were there, he crashed out, going for a medal. This kid is a promising
he's the real deal.
For the Swiss.
Yeah, last year he was a brakeman in the World Championships in Whistler. This year he's driving himself. It's his second season of driving, but it's his first full-time year. And as you say, he was in third after the first heat last week, crashed out. Day 2, took silver and held it. He's got the skills, the consistency and the track knowledge, not so much yet, but he is going to be a big deal. 2200's up. Yeah,
this is pretty locked into his position here. Great World Championships, other than one heat for him.
Yeah.
He had one bad heat, 56.44, 17th. If he didn't have that 17th second heat, he'd be in the top 6 or 7.
Yep, and he is capable of that any place he goes. He's got no fear. Crashed the sled, they were welding the frame back together till midnight on Saturday night in Sigolda, got back up, went out, second fastest in Heat 1.
There's Christoph Langen, who won the gold medal here in 2001. He's the development coach now for Switzerland.
Yeah, world champion in two-man here in 2000, and the 2008 world champion in two-man, Andre Lange, is also coaching here.
Yeah, he gets good starts, 8th, 6th, and 5th in the first 3 heats. That's a competitive start.
That's what you want from a brakeman, isn't it, at the front handles?
There you go.
Yeah.
You want to control your own destiny, get from the brakeman position to the front seat.
And Greg Jones, English father, Swiss mother, born in Switzerland and sliding with the least Swiss name in the team. There's Seaman Friedli and Greg Jones, famed for his moustache-growing abilities. Greg, among the team at least. So Switzerland lead, 9 to go. Now here's the man who's got the start record on this track. Justin Cripps, silver medal here last year, the winner with Alex Kopacz 2 years ago in the run-up to the Pyeongchang Games, where he and Francesco Frugic won two-man gold.
Yeah, but in the last season, there's something wrong with Cripps, because the 9th, the 10th, and the 12th best starts in the competition, that's not Justin Cripps. That's not the guy we've seen. Silver medal on this track. He won on this track. He owns it. He ties the track record now because they've had 2 5.11s from Friedrich and Kiebermanis, but it's not the same guy that we know was a dominant starter all season. So I hope this doesn't linger over to the format.
He's been up and down this season, 3rd in the World Cup rankings. He's had 5 podiums out of 8 World Cup races in two-man alone, and he's been in great form in the four-man as well.
6th in the first run, 13th in the second run, 9th in the third run, 11th best speed there.
Out of 12 sleds.
This is not the Justin Cripps we've been watching. The Olympic gold medalist from 2 years ago, dominant last year, 2nd in the World Championships. Something's up here.
Well, there is nothing wrong with the drive. He's not hitting things, there's no skids, and therefore you've got to look at the runner choice. He loses 3 spots, drops 3 spots. That was the 12th fastest run.
Heinrich gets into the top 10.
Heinrich is in the top 10. Who would have thought that Justin Cripps would have slipped out of the 10? Wow.
I'd like to go find out from the international man of mystery what's up.
Silver medalist with Cam Stones.
Let's see if he gets out.
Here in Whistler.
It looks like he's getting out okay.
Yeah. There's Todd Hayes and Graham Richardson with the sled down at the bottom, but he's losing speed all the way down without major problems.
Well, there was a couple taps here, but the 11th best speed, usually he's got the top speed or the second best speed on almost any track he goes to. misfiring someplace at the start, down the track.
He'll be looking for better results in four-man week. Yesterday, teammates Christina Brown and Kristen Bujnovsky claimed the bronze medal in the women's race for Canada.
Is he limping there?
See, now we're imagining things because he's not as fast as he normally is.
That ain't the same guy.
So we have a Swiss leader after this sled because Seaman Friedli and Greg Jones are in the leader's box and Michael Vogt and Sandro Michel, their teammates, are on the start line. Two Swiss sleds in the top 10 and Michael Vogt in 8th place, just 200ths off Romania's Mihai Tentea in 7th. Big battle up here.
Yeah. Vogt is a polymechanic. And, you know, his former sport, he says, believe it or not, gymnastics and athletics. Not too many bobsledders come from gymnastics because they're too big of a guy.
No, maybe that's why he had to stop gymnastics.
Yeah. Good smooth transition, 3 to 4. Hey, he was 4th in the World Cup standings.
Gone behind. He's behind his teammate Seaman Friedli. Friedli had big speed at the bottom. And Seaman Friedli out-starting Michael Vogt and Sandro Michel.
That's a big race against the Swiss.
He's got no speed either. 11th speed. He's only the 13th sled.
He's coming back a little bit. He's 11 to 10. That's not going to help that skid.
He's running out of ice. This is another of those
going to run out of ice. Watch the celebration.
Now, could we have a dead heat between the two Swiss sleds? Friedli's going to have it. He is.
Look at that. This race within a race.
Friedli has got it over Michael Vogt. Vogt in his 3rd year of driving, his 2nd full season on ice, and Friedli in his 1st full season as a driver. Friedli pushed Michael Vogt in Whistler last year, and he is driven by him 12 months on.
13th last year in the World Championships. This year he's 7th.
Oh, no. Don't get me wrong. They are both making huge leaps.
I got to believe they have a chance to knock off the Romanian coming up too.
Yep.
But here, a couple mistakes here. I mean, we saw Cripps do the same thing. This drift here in a bang, and then he had 11th best speed in the Kreisel.
Well, another of these BTC Latvian-built customer sleds. And they are quick and reliable. So Seaman Friedli, Greg Jones leads from Michael Vogt and Sandro Michel. The gap between them only 700ths. So the chances are, John, you're right. They'll either both jump Mihai Tentea of Romania, or he'll stay ahead of both of them. It's unlikely he'll fall in that gap.
How can you not root for this guy?
Yeah. 6th overnight, slipped 1 spot, got overhauled by Benny Meyer. But Mihai Tentea with Ciprian Daroxi, two 21-year-olds from Romania. And again, he's already done 1 Olympic Games. This is his 3rd World Championships. He's done almost more senior championships than he's actually had World Cup starts.
Martin, he lists his favorite track. We ask all the athletes that. He lists his favorite track as Altenberg. And boy, he set the first heat. He was unbelievable. Top 6, he was the only guy in the top 10 that we looked and said he shouldn't be there.
Yeah, starting 21st, 23rd, and driving down 6th and 8th. Yeah.
And Martin in the 3rd run, he had the 2nd fastest speed. Even though he fell, he still has great speed. Right. You know, he suffers at the start.
He's going to need it because he's nearly a 10th back already out of corner 9. 18. Where's the speed? 9th best. Okay, so that's quicker definitely than Michael Vogt was.
This is where he made his...
Here we go. Great exit off 9.
But he's the 20. He can't come back from this 2000s. He'll have good speed down here, some of the best speed, but it's over.
Now, Roman Heinrich is only 1300ths off the lead, so top 3 are going to all be ahead of him. He's going to drop down to 4th place at the line. Yes, ahead of Cripps.
So, you know what this means? He gets into the top 6, gets up on the podium. They award to 6. And I'm sure there's some kind of bonus in there in the Swiss program, but what a season for that young Swiss guy.
Well, what a half a season he's had in World Cup, and a great racing year for Seaman Friedli and Greg Jones.
But still a top 10 for this young Romanian.
Absolutely.
Great. I know, he's not happy.
Yeah, day 1 was brilliant. When the ice was hard and fast and dangerous,
he was there.
He soared.
He was there.
Here, it leveled the playing field a little, and his skills didn't quite play out compared to their start.
Look at the technique. You think that's the Germans, how good the Romanian technique is. No,
see Friedli with the extra speed, just creeping away an inch here and an inch there. It's not much. But it all adds up.
This Kreisel, get used to looking at it when there's going to be one in China on that new track. It's a longer Kreisel, 4 pressure points. Going to be some beautiful pictures from that. Nice job, you guys.
Mihai Tenter on the right. Another World Championships completed. There are your leaders. Seaman Friedley on the left, Greg Jones on the right. 6 sleds to go in the 2-man bobsleigh World Championships in Altenberg. Benny Meyer and Marcus Sammer moved up into 6th position with a good, strong 2nd and 3rd heat.
Start 5:30, very competitive. Meyer, new father. You know, you look at the guy, he's been around so long, and you go, wait a minute, he's been in 5, 6 World Championships, and he's only 25?
Well, interesting, isn't it, that the first sled off in 20th place was the Youth Olympic champion in 2012. Benny Meyer was the runner-up, the silver medalist in 2012, but he wasn't 20th, he was 6th after 3 heats.
These are great lines, 1300s lead, the speed, only the 6th best.
But he makes speed further down the track.
Well, he's a very accomplished driver, eyes and hands, very meticulous with the equipment.
1300ths of a second is the advantage. That should be enough to carry him front of the Swiss. Should be enough.
Hey, this is a top 5 finish for Benny Meyer and Marcus Sammer.
Here we go. And
Sammer hangs in there. 56, 66. The Austrians love it.
That'll do.
Gerhard Rainer on the left. Stauffer, the mechanic on the right who builds all the sleds. They're loving that. A top 5. And his specialty's more the 4-man than the 2-man.
Yeah. There's Liz, his wife, with baby Hendrix at the line, waiting to greet him.
6th place, excuse me.
Well, at the moment, he's top 6 guaranteed, but a little help from his friends.
And you see the sponsorship on the sled, Nygren. You know where the sponsorship came from? He had nothing on that sled first part of the season. You know where it came from? Francisco Friedrich got it for him.
Yeah.
The guy who's about to set all the records.
Yeah, he's got Bob Team Friedrich on the sled.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen that in my career.
So Benny Meyer leads with 5 sleds to go here. It's Meyer, Friedley and Vogt. Austria and Switzerland, some of the great powerhouse nations, and Romania in the top 10 as well. 5 sleds to go, 4 of them are German. So how is this going to shake out? Richard Olsner, the junior world champion this year for the 5th straight season in 2-man, got a free entry into the World Championships yet again. And with Malte Schwanzenfeier.
Watch him jump in. Look at that jump in. Nobody else does that. And I don't know if I like it. It's pretty reckless. But the brakeman, you know what his former sport, he says, was? American football.
Yep, not the only one.
Yeah, I know.
There's another wide receiver coming up later in the next week's action. So, Richard Olsner trying to shoot for a medal here. He was 3rd after the first heat and has dropped down to 5th position over heats 2 and 3.
I don't think he's worried about the sleds that are at the bottom. He's trying to make himself into a position.
Speed's not great.
Or the speed's not good on anybody.
There, he has to fight it off the exit of the Kreisel.
Looks like there's a
15th speed. He's dropping like a stone. He's not going to challenge those in front.
Well, you never know. He's got it back on track now.
Hang on a minute, but it's down from, what was he, 4,300s ahead, 4,800s ahead. It's going to be in a single digit.
Wow.
800s.
Look at the coaches.
He lost
they know.
42 hundredths of a second to Benny Meyer on 1 run. No medals for Richard Olsner.
That looks like something to do with runners. We've seen some strange speeds in this Kreisel in the last 7 or 8 sleds.
Red cap on the left, the green jacket. That is Ralph, the Ice Meister here. He's just praying that everything that they've done keeps this track alive.
He's a local guy, part of this.
This is his track. This is why he beat Johannes Lochner in the team selection, got his spot in the World Cup after Christmas. Well, it wasn't a bad start, 5:25.
Good. Well, I don't like that jumping in like that. I don't think I've ever seen anybody else do it that reckless, but it works. But, you know, Martin, no speed the last 3 or 4 sleds. I mean, Benny Meyer had the 6th best speed, but the track, all the people that went early had the great speed, and now the sleds coming late can't match it.
Well, you wonder what runners the coach and the driver have chosen. You can see how frosty the straight is looking. There's Richard Olsen on the left, Malte Schwanzenfeier on the right-hand side. 4 to go, and 1 hope of a breakup of a German-dominated podium so far. And that goes to Oskars Kiebermanis. Bronze medalist here for the last 3 straight seasons. No matter who was ahead of him, he's been in the medals, and he moved up to within 200ths of a medal here. Second fastest in 2 heats. The loose heat 2 is the one that hangs around his neck like a stone. Can he get into the medals here?
It's about start time here. 14, 15, there's a 15. Huge advantage, 2200s. This should get out to 45. Look at the track, how it's frosted up though. That's why there's no more speed. That's the farthest point away from the refrigeration plant, and that's the first place to frost up.
And that makes the start even more important because the sled isn't picking up any more speed early on.
So 22 to 32, yeah, he keeps 32 at the Kreisel. It's going to be pretty hard to lose that.
But it ain't about Olsner. This is about trying to overhaul Johannes
28
and or
Look at the speed, 16.
Oh my goodness.
It's all about the track frosted up now. It's going to make things very interesting. 3100.
He's recovering. So are the other 3 German sleds going to have a problem? Don't forget.
Oh, he's pulling away now.
He's in 4th place after 3 heats. He's trying to move
a big run
onto the podium.
48.
67.
That's a statement. They think it's a medal right there. They're celebrating right now.
Yeah.
They think that's a medal, and it's because of the start time.
That is a huge effort. And that means that Johannes Lochner and Nico Walter and their brakemen need a massive effort too.
It's one of the oldest trophies in sports since 1949, the Max Hubin Trophy. Next week, we race for a trophy that's been around since 1930, the Martineau Cup.
Comme ci, comme ça was the hand language there from Oskars Melbardis. 2 wins last weekend at home in 2-man in Sigulda set him up perfectly for this competition.
He tied the start record yesterday, 5:11. Spectacular athlete, a decathlete by trade. And, you know, the Latvians, they live off the best starts. It's unbelievable. Look at the technique. Watch these big meat hooks come in a cohesive, look at that. I mean, that's perfect. What a start.
All right, so Oskars Kiebermanis on the right, Mats Miknes on the left-hand side. 3 to go. Who gets the medals? Any pressure for Johannes Lochner and Christopher Weber? Look at Weber bouncing around like a caged tiger at the back.
Got 2 honors to work with. They had a 20 start in the first heat. Kiebermanis had a 14.
This is basically a dead heat for bronze right now. Kiebermanis will win in the start.
He's got to get an 18 or so. He can't get
anything in the teens.
17! His best start of the competition. That's a big deal right there.
So now they're tied. Dead level as he sits down.
And this is he's a German on this track, but the German ladies yesterday, all 3 sleds changed runners overnight, and it didn't work out so well for 2 of them. I wonder what the German men have done here. He's got
200ths of a second. This is going to be down to 100th or so at the line.
5, he's pulling away. 8th best speed, that's better than Kiebermanis.
Yeah.
One more Albatross there.
Straight down the middle.
This is looking good for a medal.
Speed's going away, but he's a 10th ahead. The gap might come down.
Look at the rudder tips here. Perfect, 1100ths. This should be a medal.
Johannes Lochner, 2 wins and a silver in the 2-man this year in the World Cup, and he is in the medals.
Kiebermanis
in the medals. Kiebermanis is in 2nd.
So Johannes Lochner delivered. There's
the family.
Remember, his Uncle Rudy won the World Championships here in 1991.
That is huge. Johannes Lochner looks like a relaxed, easygoing guy, and he is, but he is super competitive, and it hurt when he lost his World Cup spot. So a medal here. Germany only took 1 medal in the women's race. He's meaning that they're getting at least 1 in the men's race.
And watch him catch Kiebermanis here. See, he had a better Kreisel. He only had the 6th best speed. Kiebermanis had like the 15th best speed.
Look at the way that Kiebermanis holds a constant radius, and Hansi is letting the sled walk up and down.
Friedrich will do the same thing.
Let the sled do what it wants to. Momentum. Don't fight the momentum. That's where the speed comes from. Hansi Lochner on the left, Christopher Weber on the right. They lead with 2 to go. And 1500ths separated Nico Walter and Eric Franke in silver from Hansi Lochner and Christopher Weber in bronze. They need teams as well.
They have a 26 start. They're probably, the best they could do is maybe a 23, but they need to get a good start here.
This is Valter's
23.
home track,
There's his 23. Look at how frosty it is now, Martin. It's getting worse. You can see the drive lines.
And that means he won't gain speed quite as quickly until he gets out into the rain. But this is his home track. He knows he's driven all his life here.
Yeah, he makes a living, though, down below. Hey, in October, he had a serious crash here. We thought it ended his career. He couldn't slide till January.
100th ahead of Johannes Lochner.
Perfect. 100 behind. Not his best speed, not the speed.
Oh, a fraction behind Lochner.
But this is where he makes his living. High speed part of the track.
16 speed, it's not enough. The gap's opened up 700ths of a second. What can he do below corner 14?
Oh, he might lose the medal to Keeper Manis.
Keeper Manis is 1400s behind Lochner. Is the Latvian in the medals? If he's third at the line, Keeper Manis gets a medal. Keeper Manis gets a medal. Nico Valter is off the podium. Heartbreak for Nico Valter from Freital, now lives in Dresden. This is his home ice, and it has betrayed him.
He was so good yesterday and very perplexed what happened there because it looked good. Start, though, he was at a big disadvantage at the start. You know, the crowd is a little stunned because he's from the local club here, the BSC Open Barrowburger Club, and there's a lot of spectators here rooting for Nico Valter, especially what he went through.
Yeah.
They thought his career was over at Christmas.
Malte Schwensenfeier goes to offer his commiserations.
Well, we go from that
okay,
to
John,
history.
For 60 seasons, one record has stood above all in any kind of bobsledding.
Eugenio Monti, Francisco Friedrich.
In the blue suede shoes, the man who has led every heat, who has started as fast as almost anybody on the planet.
He came out in 2013, won the Junior World Championships, got a shot into the World Championships, stunned everybody, winning in St. Moritz, had a very disappointing Sochi result. Then he won in 2015, he won in 16, he won in 17, he won the gold medal time with Cripps at the 18 Olympics. He won last year in Whistler. And here, this is almost like a victory lap, Martin.
This is for a 6th consecutive two-man world championship. Nobody has ever strung 6 together in a row. 4th fastest speed. That's far quicker than anybody in the last dozen sleds.
I can say I'm one of the few people here that knew Eugenio Monti. Unbelievable sportsman. That's one thing I recognize in this athlete here. He is a sports person. Sportsman, excuse me.
He knows his place in history, and he has made it today. He is the biggest winner in two-man bobsleigh in history. 56.37 run. Francesco Friedrich wins his 6th consecutive two-man world championship.
By 1.65 seconds.
Well, don't think that just because he comes from the Altenberg region, it was easy. It's never easy to beat the best in the world. He just makes it look
Now, there was
easy.
Rennie Alvaro won 4 world championships with Monti. Margus has now won 5 world championships, so he gets to be able to say, I've done something no one else has ever done in the sport.
Well, they had new race weekend haircuts, and they drove and pushed as sharp as the hairstyle. And look, the first and the most sincere congratulations go from Johannes Lochner, his teammate. They are bitter rivals on track, but they are great friends off. And a big hug for Ralph the Ice Meister. Well, that's mutual respect both ways.
Well, the track is not challenging like we saw the last couple of days, Martin. And this was like a victory lap. I'm almost happy it was a victory lap because I did not want to see history not be made here today. You have to know this guy's personality, what he's done. Hunter Church in Innsbruck having some problems, and there that picture went out with him helping Hunter Church.
Yep, absolutely.
Found the sponsorship for the Benny Mauer in Austria.
Yep. He is not just one of the great drivers, he's one of the great characters of the sport.
Humble.
He fully understands his place in history, And again, like Michael Schumacher, like Valentino Rossi, he is setting new records. Like Lewis Hamilton, just keeps on pushing to be better than he was yesterday, and generally he succeeds. Johannes Lochner takes the silver. Oskars Kibermanis takes the bronze here for a 4th year in a row. This time it's the World Championships, and Justin Krips out of the top 10 behind Roman Heinrich and Mihai Tentea of Romania.
Another point about the Monty Friedrich best ever. Friedrich started doing this when he was 22. Monty started doing it when he was 28. And look what Friedrich's already accomplished.
A massive achievement for Francesco Friedrich. And to win one World Championship often is enough for most athletes. To be able to repeat is a remarkable feat. To be able to repeat for 6 consecutive World Championships is unprecedented, unheralded in the history of bobsled. And if, as seems at least moderately likely, he wins the 4-man gold next weekend, again on home ice, whatever the weather, he will have driven in it before and be able to react to it at least as well as any of his rivals. Then he will tie Eugenio Monti for the total number of World Championship gold medals as well. So
it's just it's unbelievable that he's been able to keep his health. Yep. You know, and you know, we've seen some times where he's got some, you know, I was talking to his physio the other night, and he's got some quad problems, and she has to continually, you know, tune him up because it's something that's, you know, it's just plagued him through his whole career.
Well, again, like the greats, you know, like Lewis Hamilton, like Michael Schumacher, like Valentino Rossi in motorsport, it's not just the tip of the iceberg. There is a team helping with the preparation of the sleds, helping with the development of the technology, keeping the bodies alive, training the athletes 24/7, 365. And again, you know, his right-hand man, Torsten Margus, as you said, this is Torsten's 5th straight World Championship in 2-man as a brakeman. And that, of course, also includes the Olympic gold medal in 2018 that doesn't get into that World Championship count, but they won that together. And again, they understand their place in history. A couple of weeks ago, they were racing in Innsbruck, and in the rotation, Torsten Margus popped up unexpectedly in Innsbruck. That's because they'd won the 5 previous races together, and Friedrich wanted to make sure they had a chance of making it 6 in a row. They understand their history. A wet and historic day in Altenberg in Germany as Francesco Friedrich and Torsten Margus claim gold ahead of Johannes Lochner and Christopher Weber. Oskars Kibermanis and Mats Miknis take the bronze medal for Latvia. But for Francesco Friedrich, this is a 6th consecutive 2-man World Championship win, the greatest winning streak in bobsleigh history. There are the rest of the top 20 results. And John Morgan, just great to be here and watch it play out in front of us.
Again, I saw Monty win the double gold, his 5th consecutive in Lake Placid as a very young man in 1961. And here we are 59 years later, and we see this German superstar who's just as humble as Monty was come out and just dominate the field. What he did in the first heat might have been the greatest heat I've ever seen in the sport. To break the track record on this treacherous track by a half second and made it look easy. Martin, at this record speed on this treacherous track, the guy is just on another planet.
Right. Imagine winning 6 consecutive Super Bowls. Imagine winning 6 Indy 500s in a row, Daytona 500s, Monaco Grand Prix, you name it. Imagine winning 6 in a row. What you would be paid in any other sport. Now, part of the reason these guys are so humble is they're getting paid nothing.
Yeah,
I mean, almost.
But they're sports military. Nothing. At least they have the sports military to back them up.
So they'll have
they can raise their families. He's got a couple great kids.
But you know, for them,
there he is.
It is about the achievement. Every day, be better than yourself, and every day, pretty much, they manage it. On the left, Francesco Friedrich. On the right, Torsten Margus. A winning combination, almost without parallel in winter sliding. You've got to look at Andre Lange and Kevin Kuska.
So we saw that Kevin Kuska last night.
Yeah, Kuska's, you can't miss Kevin Kuska. He's still the size of the Finnish building, wide rather than deep. Kuska is still a beast of an animal.
And look at this crowd. I mean, they're all part of this BSC Oberbarenberger club.
Well, John, like you and I, they got what they came for. There was a chance of history being made for the first time in 6 decades.
I felt pretty proud. The other night I gave a Monty book to Friedrich, and I've sort of brought him along the last 3 or 4 years, what he's doing. And he's become a pretty good historian of the sport.
Well, the flowers go to our third-place duo from Latvia, to the silver medalists from Bavaria.
Heike Grosswang, looks like.
Yeah, it is Heike, the Secretary-General of the IBSF, presenting to the Saxon duo from Saxony here. Francesco Friedrich, the local boy, and Torsten Margist, your gold medalists here in the two-man World Championship.
Gold.
Will we have to wait another 60 years for somebody to come and beat his records? It seems likely that we might, because he has not stopped yet and shows no sign of slowing down. Well, whatever the weather, the crowd got a great finish to a fantastic race weekend here.
Well, long N, long A, Vader, Cher, I've seen them all.
Yep.
I think it's established now. Friedrich is the greatest ever.
That's it from the two-man World Championships. Our action returns next week with men and women's skeleton and the four-man competition. Join John Morgan, me, Martin Haven, and the IBSF TV crew as we pick up the action again on Thursday here in Altenberg. Until then, on a historic day, auf Wiedersehen and goodbye.